Hi, we're in central London. Do I have your consent for the interview?
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. Can a child be transgender? I'm not done. Can a child be transgender?
Yeah, I think so.
How and why? Explain it to me, sir, and for our
'Cause
audience.
the thing is like I'm friends with quite a lot of transgenders, and the thing is I don't think it means like you don't have to fully transition, but it's like a lot of people, they have that thought inside their head, if you know what I mean, where like as a child they feel like they're not in the right body.
You just
Yeah.
said, which is, look, everyone's experimenting with that non-surgical idea.
Yeah, of
Is
course.
that still okay for under 18s, even if it's just pronouns?
Because even still, you're taught like sex ed in primary school. You know what I mean? So you still get talks like that. So I feel like everyone should get a talk of how to like be themselves, treat other people fairly, stuff like that.
So I think what's really interesting is that again, very common sense, I like it. So you mentioned sex ed, and you mentioned common respect. Is that not very different from saying to little Jimmy, actually, you might be a girl? Are they not two very different things?
I think,
That's where we have to start the debate.
yeah. I think that's kind of harder to answer. But so what do you mean? It's like telling people that it's okay for them to be themselves, and then saying like,
Well, be who you want to be. When I was growing up, it was be whatever you want to be. But
Yeah.
that meant be an astronaut, be a lawyer, be a
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah.
That meant fulfill your potential.
Yeah.
For example, if an 8-year-old reaches for the vodka bottle at home, parents should say no, right?
Yeah, of course.
So we can agree that's wrong.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that it's an acceptable conversation growing, a legitimised conversation growing, that from any age, 4 to 6 is a massive development. Again, 8 to 12 is a huge development.
Yeah.
From any age, this conversation, use of pronouns,
Yeah.
live and let live, accept,
Yeah.
that didn't necessarily come from the child. It's being taught in schools.
Yeah.
So that's the question we want to find out from the general public is, does that have a place with under 18-year-olds?
I think the thing is though, is children and like under 18-year-olds, they're the most open to everything. Like with a lot of it is, if you tell them about it, they're going to be open to hearing other people's views. Whereas like if you have like an older demographic, they're going to be a lot more set of how they were brought up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So children are more susceptible.
They don't really teach you in school either, do they? Very close.
The children are more susceptible to ideas, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like they're getting like brainwashed or anything. It's like as people grow up, they understand more things are just okay. Because it's like you've had that a lot like back in the past. Say like a school in like 1920 or something. They might see things that would be wrong, but by today's standards, it's completely okay now. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, so it's very much a progressive model that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Where it comes under the bracket of transgenderism.
Yeah.
Not talking about surgeries, because that is
Yeah.
quite extreme. Not everyone does that, but it's definitely being pushed through RSHE, PSHE, whatever it's called,
Yeah. Yeah.
social, economic, health, relationships, etc. So transgender, can a child be transgender? Yes or no?
Yes.
And should it be discussed or within the environment of children under 18?
I think so. Yeah.
Can a child be transgender?
Yes.
Why? How?
You are who you are, you're born as you are.
It seems to me like it's prevalent in schools, definitely. It seems to me like it's prevalent in certain areas as well. So when I ask, can a child be transgender? And you say, yeah, they can. It's about how they feel. What does that mean? Explain it to me as though I was a 3-year-old, from your perspective.
A child, I mean, I identify as trans as well, but like non-binary. So like if I'd have known the language back then, I would have been someone that would have said, listen, I know for a fact I'm not one or the other, which is why I have complete faith that a child would know who they are as well, because of that. So if I'm explaining it to a child, it's not about how you dress, it's just how that they know that they feel on the inside. And if they know that they are as a kid, then I'm really bad at articulating
No, it's fine.
this,
Can
but-
I ask about your experience then?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Well, so what age did you start to think or feel X, Y, Z, shall we say?
I think, so if I'd have, like I said, if the language had been around when I was a kid, I would have known, but I didn't figure it out. I'm 28 now. I didn't figure it out until the first year of the pandemic in 2020 when I was about 25 years old. So, but making the connections now as an adult, looking back, I'm like, oh, it was so obvious. I was called a tomboy my entire life, and I never really, when I'm a gamer, play games, I was always a boy. Like, it's just, I never felt comfortable.
So you're saying biologically you were born female?
Yes, I was, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
with you so far.
Yeah. So like, I was just never comfortable being called girl, lady, still not, but like, as a kid, and then I feel like every non-binary trans mass person goes through a period in their life where they dress hyper-feminine to try and live up to society's expectation of you are a woman, you must be a woman. And then, figured it out because of TikTok, hilariously. And then was like, oh yeah, no, I know for sure that it is this. And I feel so much better now.
So you were a tomboy?
Yeah, when I was a kid, yeah.
Yeah. Born a female, you were a
Mm-hmm.
tomboy, and you got on with life normally.
Yeah.
Normal friends, normal family,
Yeah.
within reason.
Mhm.
Not sure what normal family is,
Yeah.
but okay, fine. And then when you were mid-20s, it all came together,
Mhm.
and you said, right, okay, fine, I identify as, and you said non-binary.
Non-binary.
Okay, fine. So how does it work? So you recognise that you are a XX female, is that right?
I'm under that. My sex is female. That is what it is. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I just recognise that my gender it doesn't fit into any female or male bracket.
It's different from sex.
Yeah, and it's I've got friends who are gender fluid. Some days they identify as male, sometimes they identify as female. For me, I just identify as neither. I'm just me.
So what does it look like then? Put it in my perspective as someone who's learning, I suppose. What does it look like day to day? Does that mean that you play male sports? Does that mean that is it a way you think, or is it a way you feel, or is it action based?
It's just for me. It's just more of a way I feel. If I was to play sports, I don't know, because I think it would be better to join a trans team. They've seen loads of trans football teams popping up, so maybe that was where I would fit more. I wouldn't fit necessarily into a female team or into a male team just because of who I'd be surrounded by, because everyone is cis. But I don't know. Just for me, I just exist, and if people don't like it, then that's okay. That's everyone's opinion. But yeah, now that I've got loads of trans friends as well, it's nice finding a community of people who understand that. Yeah, we just want to be ourselves, and it doesn't really. It is what it is. I'm aware that I always stick out no matter where I am.
Sure. Yeah, I don't tend to judge people none too much. I am still trying to understand, and every time I ask the question, it comes back to we just want to be, and this is what we feel, and that's kind of it, sort of thing. So based on that, bringing it back to the question, should that be anywhere near under 18-year-olds in terms of ideology, in terms of pushing, in terms of suggestion, in terms of talking, in terms of anything, in terms of debate? Is this an over 18 subject?
No, God no, because a child knows as well. They know how they feel, and also it's fine to experiment. It's fine to figure things out. I would have experimented younger. Not saying I don't have plans right now of doing anything physical or taking testosterone. I do wear a binder, but that's a personal choice. So maybe in the future I would like to get breast removal, but that's not something that kids. No one is making them take anything. If they want to identify or dress a certain way, or say, listen, I think I'm male, but I was born female, then they can experiment with that. I don't think it's a over 18 thing, because you're just cutting off loads of kids that already know who they are, and it's also taking away from people who just want to. I don't know. What's the word? They just want to. What's the word? They just want to.
What, children just
yeah,
want to what?
they just want to. It takes away from any child wanting to just find themselves and discover different parts of themselves. So I think it closes off the whole narrative where people can just be on a journey of self-discovery from a younger age.
Should we push heteronormativity as well as the suggestion of transgenderism?
I think everything, yeah, because you need to. A child needs to be educated on all stances. So yes, but I just think. For me, when I was a kid, I didn't know what the word trans was. I think growing up, I'd heard the word transsexual, and then there became a weird blur between what a drag queen was versus someone who was trans. All of that went on, but I just think it all should just be educated on, especially for kids, and then then they know exactly what's going on in the world, and they can just be what they identify as and how they feel on the inside.
What age should the education start for children?
As young as possible, because the more that people are more that kids are educated on things from a young age, then they can grow up being it's fine to just express myself or figure things out as I grow. Yeah.
So 4-year-old. So for example, if a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, let's say 4 to 6, for example, which is a huge growth development period. Let's just say, for example, there was no mention of it, nothing at home at all, and then one day that the suggestion was put to them, and then they started behaving on that. What do we feel about that? Because you've mentioned that it's important that they feel they need to be who they want to be, and they need to feel what they want.
Yeah.
But what child is ever going to think that unless it's been heard? What about that argument?
Well, it's the same from a young age, we're all taught gender roles. I grew up with 3 brothers, and it was always Sarah, that's my name. You must always, you do the cleaning, you do, you help mum out, cool. But what about my brothers? Oh, they do half a job, blah, 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 blah. Just stuff like that. You're constantly, as kids, we're constantly put in the bracket of male and female, and you must adhere to
gender roles.
Gender roles, yeah. So I know that's a different subject anyway, but I just mean that I'm doing a really shite job.
No,
of
you're doing great.
this.
So are gender roles important?
I think they're important. No, I think just be who you want to be, and for parents to not try and push their child into being something else, or just treat all of your kids the same. That's what I think is important. Yeah.
Okay, great. You've been most kind. Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you so
time.
much, and thank you for educating yourself in it further. as
No,
well.
no, bless you. Thank you very much for talking to us. This is what it's all about.
Can a child be transgender?
Why not?
Of course,
Yeah.
because if he was born in a certain way, which means he knows it from his childhood, so we should let them freely choose who they want to be in life. Even though I think it's not really a choice, because if they're born in a certain way, they just used to it. And they see nothing wrong with it.
Surely the question becomes, is this a topic for under 18s? Hence the question, can a child be transgender?
Of course. And also I think there's no majorities anymore. I think as humans, we're not used to be at a certain way like it was before. So there's no majorities. It's not the common to be straight anymore. It's not common to be gay. We just live.
So let's just say that my question is actually wrong. Let's acknowledge that it's possible that transgenderism exists, is real, and also applies to children. Should it be taught? Should it be pushed? Should it be discussed with under 18s?
It should discuss like every other topic that we need to talk about as human. You know, it's not a matter of a choice. It's more about human rights. I think that as a human, you have the right to live in your own body that you love and you like, and no one should suffer because life is so short, you know? And if they want to live the way that they was born, we don't need as a society waste time of their lives because our thoughts.
So I think what I'm hearing is, wrapping up the interview, it's live and let live,
Yeah.
and anything goes.
Of course, not anything
Where
unless
do we
you
draw the
don't
line?
harm anyone.
Where do we draw the line? Harm?
When you harm people, you draw the line. But unless you don't harm anyone and you don't hurt anyone with your feelings on your thoughts or your opinions, and it's only a matter of your own life, so you...
Sure. No, we can all agree that
Just
harm is where we
need
draw
to
the
live.
line. The suggestion of pronouns leads to breast binders. The suggestion of pronouns leads to puberty blockers. The suggestions of pronouns leads to testosterone, ultimately to sex change. And there's a large detransition movement, as you're aware.
course.
So how do we galvanise the live and let live and do no harm, while simultaneously a large demographic of that population currently are saying, do not bring this anywhere near the under 18 demographic, and the human brain isn't fully formed till 25 as well?
You know, there's a minimum age to use hormones. You know, an Israeli girl named Romy, she started the transection surgery and all the transection, process. She started it very young because she felt like a girl since she was born. So she started with hormones when she was 12, and I think that unless your parents are okay with it, even if they're not, unless you live in a certain way and you want to feel in a certain way, and you want, when it comes to sexual effects, it's different. But I think that should be a minimum age. But as a society, we should put some law against it. We should be with them side.
So surgery, there should be a minimum age.
Maybe, but when it's a feeling, it's not about surgery. When a boy feels like a girl, he doesn't care about the surgery. He doesn't care about his sexual stuff.
Sure. It's an extreme example.
He just want
Yeah.
to feel embraced.
Transgenderism.
To feel powerful.
Transgenderism is a topic about exploring who you really are,
Yeah.
and that's not the same as surgery and cutting off bits.
I think that we should just embrace those kids, embrace those people. You know that transgender people still killing themselves weekly. Like 80% of the transgender people has suicidal thoughts once in their life.
What
at
about
least.
What about the non? Obviously, this is very important, and you're clearly knowledgeable, so you'll forgive me because we're extending the interview. You clearly know your stuff. A lot of people say that suicidal thoughts occur within that demographic. Which demographic do suicidal thoughts not occur? Suicidal thoughts occur with every demographic.
Of course.
Heteronormative or otherwise, right?
Of course, but in the transsexual community, it's way more common. It's way more common. A lot of transsexual people get evicted out from their homes, losing their parents' support, and it still happens even those days. Even in 2023, it still
They're all
happens.
persecuted.
Yeah.
They're more persecuted.
Yeah.
I think the argument about what happens to transsexuals over 18 and transgenderism in schools under 18, I think they're very different subjects, and you're clearly knowledgeable about a lot of this.
Yeah.
So back to the question, can a child be transgender, yes or no?
Of course.
Should it be discussed and encouraged and influenced in schools?
Of course. As any topic that, has a lot of stuff to do with their own feelings.
Understood. And do we have the consent of the interview?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes, you do, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And do I have your consent for the interview?
You do.
Fantastic. Do I have your consent for the interview?
Okay. Yeah, of course.
Of course. Awesome.